Is Antonia Bernhardt from MEWS with the topic Green Hotel of the Future, Best Practices. This session will be in English. If you have any questions, you can send them in the live chat, and then we will do a Q&A at the end. Have fun.
Thank you so much, Lia. Hi, everyone, and welcome to my workshop today. It's the title is Green Hotel of the Future, Best Practices. And as the title implies, I will be talking a little bit about sustainability and best practices. I've selected a few interesting hospitality chains, actually, that I think are doing a great job. But also there will be a focus on technology, and that's the future aspect of this workshop. So let's get started. Maybe a little bit about me first. So I've spent about 10 plus years in hospitality and hospitality tech. I've really started studying international tourism management many years ago in the north of Germany. And from there, I've really worked for chains like Marriott, Radisson, even Sandals, so resort hospitality. Before my time at MEWS, I've spent some time at Generator Hostels as well, so seeing the hostel side of the hospitality industry. So really and truly, I've got some experience in operations, revenue, and sales across more than 10 years. And what will I be talking about today? First up, I want to make a case for going green. So it's really the why. Why should we be going green? And in this part, I will be focusing on mainly on the traveler's interest in going green, not so much on, let's say, the cost-saving aspect. Then I'll be diving into environmentally friendly practices. So that's really giving you the best practices across the industry. Some of our partners have been very nice to share some data with me. And I'll be then diving into the hospitality system and why that is key in this entire process. And then we'll leave about 5 minutes for Q&A at the end. So let's get started. As I said, the case for going green, I think we've heard a lot about cost-saving aspect by now, and yes, I will dive into that as well, but I want to make a different case here, and that's really about the traveler's needs. And I'll give you some data on that, which I think you might really like. So first up, I've looked at the latest Booking.com 2021 report on sustainability, and they've run a survey globally. And in that survey, they revealed that 83% of global travelers think sustainable travel is vital. That's 83%, with 61% saying that the pandemic has actually made them think about this. So that's an interesting, I guess, statistic by itself. Then if we look at the accommodation side, 3 out of 4 accommodation providers are actually saying that they have implemented at least some kind of sustainability practices, which there is a lot, and I'll be introducing you to some of them. But only 1/3 are actually actively promoting them online and to their guests. So that's really interesting. I think there's a lot we can still do. So next up is a graph, a really interesting graph. I hope you can see everything here. It basically is a survey that Skift ran in 2019 across the Gen Z and the millennial generation. And you see, this is territorial data, really. And what that really shows is the importance of environmental responsibility versus the willingness to pay more. And from what we can see here, in green is the importance, blue is the willingness to pay more. And in terms of countries, territories, what we see here is really that India and China stand out. Those sort of travelers are much more willing to go for a sustainable product, and they're also much more willing to spend more. Next up. 3 graphs, actually. So let's start at the top. And that's, those are statistics or based on a survey from First Insight, the state of consumer spending, from January 2020. And basically, they've just run that survey across all industries. So this is not focused on the hospitality industry, but what you can see in the top graph there, they looked at the different generations here. And they really looked into how do you prefer to buy from sustainable brands. And again, it stands out that the younger generation, so Gen Z, millennials, are much more likely to buy from sustainable brands or would prefer to buy from sustainable brands. Then when we go on the bottom graph, actually, are you willing to pay more for sustainable products? There's a yes and no answer here. Again, you can see the younger generations are much more willing to spend more on sustainable products than the older generations, although I think it's across all generations at a quite high level here. And then on the right-hand side, you will see how much more are you looking to spend or are you willing to spend on a sustainable product. And there is two answers you could have given here, more than 10% or less than 10%. And again, it proves the same case. The younger generations, Gen Z and millennials, are willing to spend a lot more than the older generations. So that's some interesting data here. And I think maybe to sum it up a little bit, what we've seen here, right? What I'm saying is that if you communicate, I guess, your sustainability concept right, there is an audience out there that is looking to go for those sort of initiatives and that are more likely to spend. You see that the younger generations are much more likely to go for that sort of concept. That means it actually opens up entire new markets for you. So if you're looking to enable a younger audience staying in your hotel, if you're looking at different markets, for example, we've seen market data, right? Like China, India, it's a good idea to really think about your sustainable strategy, and plus, please let the guests know that you're doing this. This is really important as part of the guest journey. Now, now that we've seen some data on this, right, and again, this is really just about traveler behavior and travel preferences, right? I'm going to dive into how to be eco, and I want to showcase some of the best practices in the industry from European hospitality brands. And the key considerations that we've taken here are all these points listed on my slide. So it's from going paperless to energy and water efficiencies over to the use of single or non-use of single-use plastics, food and beverage waste, right? Eco-friendly products, locally sourced products, any good cause that you could think of, but also obviously make it official with certification. So first up, I'd like to introduce to you an interesting chain called Westcourt Hotels. They're a chain of 15 hotels in the Netherlands, with 13 of them certified by Green Key. And as you can see in the image there, there's obviously a lot of sustainability there. But some of their sustainable activities, I think worth mentioning, is water-saving initiatives by simply just putting water savers in showers, right? Just to give you a little bit of context, I read a statistic the other day within the UK market in the energy consumption and water consumption. And it's a fact that on average, each individual uses about 142 liters of water per day. That's immense. That's incredible, right? So whatever we can do to bring that number down, I think Westcourt has found a really good way of doing that. They're also using a water irrigation system to really use rainwater to water their plants and gardens. Super good idea, right? It's right there. Why not make use of that? They've installed solar panels, LED lights, and so forth. And important, and I think this is one of the most important things, make sure your staff is on board with everything that you do, because they have to practice these environmental practices every day. They also have on-site waste separation. They're also using local and eco-friendly cleaning products. And again, they have also, and again, from a guest journey perspective, this is the most important thing. Let your guests know, right, what you're doing. Make it available every step of the guest journey that these are the things that you're doing to make, I guess, the environment more sustainable and, yeah, just contribute to environmentally friendly practices. So next up, I have the student hotel, actually. I mean, we probably all know the student hotel chain by now. Who doesn't know them? They are an innovative hospitality brand combining various segments from student accommodation to long-term stays, co-working spaces, event spaces, but to also, they appeal to the leisure traveler as well. They have quite large properties, so sustainability for them is really at their core. And if you look at their website, right, they've definitely set up landing pages for everything that they're doing there, and they're informing the guest every step of the way as well. On top of things, they have set up, or they have created an annual impact report. So you can actually read about the things that happened, right? So me as a traveler, I can then see, hey, I've contributed to all of this because I've stayed at their properties. So they were, through that report, I'm happy to share some data with you as well, because they made it available for us, right? So think of it, and I was saying earlier, an average person spends about 142 liters of water per day. So they managed to save 3,760 liters of water per room per year through the shower devices that they've installed. And I think, you know, we can always do a lot more, but I think this is a really great achievement if you think that's per room. They've also, and that's definitely an initiative that's really close to my heart, they've planted 10,000 trees in the last year alone through a partnership with WeForest. So again, that sort of concept of letting the guests know, hey, if you're booking with us, we'll plant a tree for you. They saved meals, various meals, by using an app called Too Good To Go. Some of you might know it. I'll go into a little bit of detail about this later. And they've committed to zero waste for the 2030, actually. So some really, really interesting initiatives. Again, you can read all about it online. And I think it's nice to see that guests can actually have access to all of that data as well. And then a really nice local example, actually, and I've been lucky to stay with them last night, so I can definitely vouch for everything that they're doing there. So Concept Hotels, they come out of Cologne. They have now 7 properties across the DACH region. And really, they sum it up nicely, what their initiatives look like, their corporate social responsibility, and they just put together in 3 words: digital, fair, and local. So the goals that they're aiming to achieve is with regards to gender equality, so transparency in wages, and they have various clean water and sanitation initiatives going in the different hotels. So in each different hotel, you might be contributing in a completely different way. And they also have, they're supporting affordable and clean energy through efficient equipment, really. So that's where the hardware, the tech stack, and everything comes into play. And I think they're a really good example of somebody who's used tech as an enabler for sustainability concepts. Now, the causes they support, I think, are worth mentioning as well, because again, I'm looking to inspire some hoteliers here to just show what's out there, right? So they also have gone for a tree concept, so plant 1 tree with each booking, and they're working with bed and tree. Then there's also N2S in another property where you contribute to clean water in Ethiopia. And they're working with Goldimer, and you might know Goldimer from the interesting toilet paper rolls, recycled toilet paper, actually. And they have some funky branding there. And Viva Con Agua, which is, I guess, a very global initiative as such. And actually, so through my stay at that property, right, I realized there's so many prompts in that room for you to be sustainable, and I think that's the right way to go. So for me as a guest, like, there was a soap bottle, right, that said, hey, stop the water while you're using me, and you're automatically being prompted to actually do that. And these sort of little things, they sum up, and then when you sit down in the room, right, you see that impact report as well. So they actually report on things. They talk about their sustainability concepts as well. And again, if you want to know more, there's a whole fair responsibility page on their website. So please go and have a look at it. It's really, really interesting. So now, what do all of these 3 best user cases have in common? Really, they understood in order to roll out their sustainability concept, right, they have to leverage technology. And really, they looked at their entire tech stack to understand how can we make this more fair, more local, more digital, as Concept Hotels says. And they really looked at these things. And again, I encourage everyone, right, if you're on the verge of going for a sustainability concept, or you think you could do more, engage with your tech suppliers as well, right? Like, all of these tech suppliers have customer success teams, right? They have account management teams, and they're so happy to help with consulting on your tech stack along the guest journey, right? To see, hey, what can I do during the booking phase? How can I let my guests know that they've probably invested some money into some forest in the Amazon? So really, really interesting thought. And I think I was going to show some partners here that I think, again, there's so many partners that can help you with your sustainability strategy. But I wanted to highlight a few that I think are easy to implement as such. It doesn't take too much. But also have each different initiatives covering different parts of the guest journey, really. And first up is Oki, really. One of my favorite initiatives that they actually did a long time ago that just stuck to my mind was the one, free pizza if you opt out of your stay over clean, right? Who wouldn't go for that? And Oki is an amazing upselling tool and can really be used mainly as well pre-arrival, right? To let the guests know, hey, there's something you can do here to contribute to the environment. Then there's Operto, right? They're really looking into water and temperature efficiencies because in all fairness, if I'm not in the room, right, why heat up that room, right? Why not time it to my arrival time for the room to be heated up? Xingula, another interesting concept, so they are known for the green button. So they can install a green button into your room. And while you're brushing your teeth in the evening, you can just press that green button and opt out of your stay over clean. How convenient is that, right? It just takes one click to really opt out and to contribute to the environment. My Hotel Bike, as it says, is really about alternative forms of transport and really encouraging bike rentals at the hotels, because as we know, transportation is a large part that contributes to our carbon footprint, right? So why not offset that through My Hotel Bike? Tenzo is a really interesting AI forecasting tool in F&B. So it's really there to ensure that your waste your waste management is optimal, that you really sell as you forecast and as you plan. OptiWati as well, it's a Finnish company, actually going into temperature controls, really optimizing the smart devices that you're running your entire hotel off to save as much energy and water as you can. And then last but not least, and I mentioned that during the student hotel presentation, Too Good To Go. It's actually a B2C app, right, that allows me as an individual to buy meals from a restaurant that's about to close, for example. So they're selling those meals that are otherwise going to waste for much cheaper. So anyone can literally use that, and that widens your audience as well, if you think about it, right? If you have your restaurant within your hotel, it widens your audience to your locals as well, and it just avoids food waste. So that all said, I know there's a lot of information on here, but this is how you can flexibly create your ecosystem. And as I said earlier, engage your tech partners, right, to see who plays best with each other, at what phase should we be using what partner to really engage. I've mentioned quite a few already, but there's so much more you could potentially do. It just depends on what initiatives there are for you and what you want to be doing in the future. So really make sure that you have a flexible and open tech stack, right, that allows you to go for apps like Too Good To Go, for example, that allows you to plug in the latest smart devices without having a headache, actually. So this is really just an idea of how that could look like with several options. And last but not least, I think it's always important to ask your tech suppliers as well, what are they doing, right, for environmentally friendly practices? What do they contribute to the environment? And we've recently announced this, actually last week, that was our big announcement. So we've teamed up with Hotels for Trees, and I've mentioned that in a few best practices already, but what we're aiming to do here is really drive the idea for a guest to be sustainable, right? And the way it works is really simple. I just opt out of my stay over clean, right? And I will basically give one tree to the environment. That, from a guest perspective, is amazing. So what MEWS has done here is really started a partnership on, last week with Hotels for Trees. We've initially donated around 500 trees, actually, to announce this partnership as well, to give back. And we're encouraging hoteliers to sign up to this program to really say, hey, I want my guests to contribute to this. I want my guests to see this. So for now, we're going for the usual door hanger format, but in a in the long term, we really want to focus on that aspect. What can the product actually deliver, right? How can we build this nicely into all of our guest journey products so that the guests can actually automatically opt for that tree donation, right? Or is aware of that tree donation. So let it be in the booking engine, let it be during the online check-in process, and at any point in time during that guest journey. And I think it's worthy checking with your partners if you have a big CSR strategy to understand what they're doing as well in terms of trees or general sustainability. Now, last but not least, I wanted to remind everyone, right? Whether you're a small hotel or whether you're a chain, it's all possible. I mean, the recent news, I think, have been very fantastic. I know we heard a lot about sustainability in politics as well. So it's definitely a topic right now that everyone should look into. And I just want to remind everyone that if the big boys like Marriott and Accor can get into commitments and sustainability networks, right? I think every single hotelier is able to do this. So yeah, I just want to encourage everyone as well. We have put together a little guide because I only mentioned a few things you can do. I've only mentioned a few initiatives and tech partners. But if you want to learn more about the green hotel of the future and really get a guide, right? Really get some inspiration on what I can do. I'm not saying do everything, right? Like there's so many things you can do, but you got to get started. There's a really, really nice guide that we've kindly put together. You can scan that QR code at any point in time and really, yeah, download the report and hopefully it's inspirational and can help you. Yeah. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. Are there any questions? The audience?
There are no questions in our live stream, but I don't know if we have any questions in our audience here. No? Then, thank you.
Are you guys all inspired now?
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you for your presentation. And I think we will see you here in the halls. And
Thank you.
have fun.
Thanks, Lia.
Thank you.
Thanks.